EGR valve, and it was about 80 bucks at AutoZone. It has 10mm bolts on each side to hold it in place, and then it has threads here where the EGR tube screws in from the bottom. And you're going to want to, when you're taking it off, you take the EGR tube off first, because that's, while it's still held in place to the motor, it's way easier to take that off first. And when you put it back together, you bolt this to the motor first and then install the EGR tube. And it has a gasket on it here, and you want to preset the gasket in place like this with the ridge facing the motor. The ridge faces the motor because it kind of compresses a little bit against the motor and gives a good seal. And we don't put anything else or connection wise on until we get this bolted back up into place. Cut. You take these 4 bolts out here to remove this frame cross member. That actually gives you a lot more room to reach down the back side and reach the bolts for the EGR itself. So definitely need to take this off to get more hand room to reach the back side of the engine. You need to take this transmission strut device off too, that goes from here to here. So take that off, take the 4 bolts off, remove this, remove the throttle body, and remove the sorted like intake hose here and your air cleaner, and then it's a lot easier to get to everything you need to get to. And it's pretty much a straight bolt on, bolt off there. The service manual does not recommend or require that you remove the throttle body in order to do this, but we found that it makes it a whole lot easier. It gives you way more leverage and room to get in to remove the EGR tube. And you might as well clean it really good while you have it off. Doug used brake cleaner on it, clean this surface here, clean the intake of it, added some dielectric grease to the plug here, and it's just like a brand new machine now. Hopefully that'll run nice and smooth. Putting the EGR back into place, leave the 2 smaller mounting bolts a little loose. That will allow you wiggle room in order to get the EGR tube lined up properly. You probably can't see, but EGR tube is right here at the tip of my finger. I had to leave this a little loose so I could wiggle it and get it in just the right place.
There you go.
Oh yes, that right there is the EGR tube. So that's good. Cut. Cut.
You also put the cross brace back on, the tower brace.
Means removing the windshield wiper arms and 4 push pins on the side and 4 push clips on the front. That's the only way I could see to get this T50 torque bolt out of here, was to lift that up in the air. I took this plastic panel off here, and in fact I didn't have to separate this strut at this point here. If you take these 4 big bolts for the cross member off and the single bolt here off, the strut and the cross brace will come off as one assembly, so you don't need to take off that plastic shield. Make sure you put a lot of penetrating oil on the EGR tube before you try and take it off. I found that an open-end adjustable wrench with a pipe on the end of it was what we needed to get it done. And hopefully this will help you change this. On the Ford 500 and any of the Ford products with the 3-liter V6, there is no MAP sensor, manifold air pressure. It's actually built in to the EGR valve. So if you have either EGR problem or an MAP problem, you're going to have to look into changing this EGR valve assembly. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.